Welcome to Female Voices Life and Loss. I'm one of your co-hosts, Wayna Berry, and I'm with Teresa
I'm
Reiniger.
here today. Yay.
And we are blessed to talk to Dr. Pam, is how I know her, Dr. Pam Buchanan. I met her when I had the honor of being at the Essence Festival this summer in July, and thank the Lord, she helped me out. Lord, that 100-degree temperature had me on my butt, really. So, Dr. Pam, please tell us about you and your journey.
Hello, guys. Thanks for having me. And so
Woohoo.
I'm Dr. Pamela Buchanan. So I've been a physician for the last 20 years. I've worked in private practice and the emergency room. And so that's why I'm a stress management expert, because you become a master of stress when you're an emergency room doctor. And if you
Mhm.
stay in constant overwhelm and stress, I would never get anything done. I feel like I really honed in that skill during the pandemic when you had to think on your feet because it was just so unprecedented, right? And so right now I help female physicians stay in practice because we cannot afford to lose not one more doctor. Our
Thank
healthcare system is already fragile, and that is my main passion right now. I help female physicians turn stress into strategy and their burnout to boundaries so their purpose will become profit.
It's
Mm.
beautiful. And I think I'm not speaking for Teresa, but I know I need some of that. Because life gets super, super busy, especially for women, mothers, things like that. And she was telling us, Dr. Pam was telling us about her kids on the way down there too. Tell us
Oh,
more.
Yes,
yeah.
especially when you're a woman, it's like it shouldn't be, but stress is the brand. Just constant overwhelm is the brand. And it's because we allow it. Here's what we do. It's just automatically thought of as the strong one. I can't tell you how many patients I will see in the emergency room. And they will come in, the man is coming in, he has chest pain. And he would go, "So babe, tell her what's wrong with me." How can you tell me what's wrong with you? I go, "No, sir, where is your chest pain? When did it start? How did it start?" But that is the nature of women. And that's not just her. I've been that. Because you can doesn't mean you should. And
Mm,
that is the trap we fall into because we can. Then people think we should. Like, for instance, I'm an excellent cook. My mother taught me. I've been cooking since I was 8. And I got the bug, I had some free time, so a couple Sundays ago, I made a big meal from scratch. And it took me
mm,
out. It was excessive. I forgot how excessive it is. Don't know how my mom used to do that. Let's go back ordering DoorDash and Grubhub. The meal was great, and my guy was like,
right.
"Babe, you should do this all the time." And I was like, "Oh, sir, no. This cannot be. I will give you my grandmother's cookbook, which I keep in the drawer, and you can have at it. But
I love it. I
we
love it.
we have to figure out our
Yeah.
boundaries. There are so many texts written about women and how we
Mhm.
overdo our boundaries, how we do the second shift, like we work full time, but still come home
Woo, she
and help
preaching.
with the homework, organize the kids' schoolwork. I'll say this and then I'll let you guys go. I'll go through how my day goes. Before I started to learn to delegate. So you start your
Mhm.
day, I go to work, and my job is not a simple thing. I'm an emergency room doctor, so I'll do a 12-hour
Mhm.
shift there. And that's excessive in and of itself. You never know what's going to happen during that day. And I got to go.
Mhm.
Now I'm going to pick up the kids. The kids are kids. Okay. They get into the car. They don't say, "Hi, mom. How you doing? How was your day?" They go, and y'all probably already know. They go, "What's for dinner?" Okay,
Mm,
I don't
mm,
know why that term
mm,
irritates me so much, but it just gets me, "What's for dinner?" And so then you figure it out, you give us some food, and they think that you're a superwoman. They spring it on you.
mm,
We got,
mm.
for instance, we got a soccer banquet tonight, and you're supposed to bring the dessert. Really? You just tell me now. And so you hurry up and you figure that out, and somehow you make it look easy. It gets done. And when you get
Mhm.
through that, you go to the soccer banquet, you come home,
Mm.
your guy's like, "Babe, how you doing?" And you're like, "I ain't got no time for that. I am tired." But they expect
Bless you.
that you can do all these things because there are days where you do them. And so how that
Mhm.
day should really go is the kids should be informed. The beginning of the week, "You guys got anything you need to spring on me? Don't spring anything on me in the
Mhm.
last minute. Okay? All right.
Mhm.
It might not happen. I'll embarrass you." And you talk to your partner and you say, "Hey, babe, I'm gonna need some help." And if you needed to get something for the banquet, you give them a call and say, "Babe, either you Instacart it, have it delivered, but help me out and get this dessert to the bank," right? And you preemptively say, today is not sexy time. I can't do it. Let's make a date night. And so
I
When it comes to
love
filming that
it.
happen. It's like, "Ooh, I'm tired." Life. Oh,
I love
man.
that. I see a lot of boundaries set in there. I see
Mhm,
it a lot of delegating, a lot of working together as a family. And I love all of that, which goes back to supporting and helping us avoid that
mhm.
burnout that you talked about at the beginning. So, yeah, I love that. Perfect.
and
Great advice.
here's the thing. This is not just some simple self-help. This is so non-negotiable and necessary
Mhm,
because the
mhm,
chronicity of stress, that's what I focus on. And the chronicity of stress is what leads to autoimmune diseases. And so
Mhm.
of the autoimmune diseases, 80% of them are in women for good reason. It has to do with
mhm.
that chronicity of stress that's usually that second shift that we
Yeah.
allow. Like how many women
Mhm,
do you know of that plan the vacations? But everybody's going, but she's the one who plans it. I've seen so many people. I go on vacation.
mhm,
We go on vacation 4 times a year. We cruise a lot. I'm always on a
mhm,
cruise, and you see a big group, and there's a lot of people enjoying, and there's usually this one tired woman. There's one woman, she's got the papers. She's all tired. She's telling people, "Our next thing is we're going on this excursion." Don't be that guy. My sister-in-law used to be that gal, and I
mhm.
said, "No,
I'm
we are
not her.
grown-up."
My husband planned that stuff. No, I
Right.
sit back and relax.
So shared
No,
decision
man.
making because you're not the only one who do the thing. But when you do this, you're working, plus you're taking care of the family, plus you're doing all the extracurriculars, and you're not asking anybody for anything. You're building your stress in your body. You're aging yourself daily. It cuts the ends of your
Mhm,
DNA called the telomeres. And so now you
mm,
look old and haggardly on the outside, extra wrinkles, but also on the inside, taking years off your life. So the
mhm,
average African American woman lives about 3 years less than a white woman due to the
mhm.
chronicity of stress. There's some structural racism, there's some things that are more difficult on top of what any and every woman goes through.
Mm. You telling it. Feel like looked into my house growing up, like, oof. They were burning the candle at both ends. So I think that's why a lot of young women are like, no, they're taking time. They're like having those kids later. They're like, uh-uh, uh-uh.
And
Mhm.
I applaud them for that because really think about what
Mhm.
works for you. What is
Right.
not going to kill you? Right before
Mhm,
this meeting, I was delegating to my sis, and I was like, okay, I feel it. I can feel that edge of burnout coming because you get
mhm,
a surge. My LinkedIn posts are picking up traction. And I used to pride myself on responding to all the comments. Well, not when there's 300 of them. I can't do it. And
mhm,
that's a
mhm,
blessing. And that's, an overwhelm potentially.
mhm.
But I've learned that, hey, let's hire a BA to respond in my voice. I say the same thing
Mhm.
every time. I
Love it.
don't really, I'm pretty simple. And
Let's
so
not
just
create the
let's not
creating
be,
things. I'm all about that
mhm.
delegation though. My family would I'm a blended family, second marriage, but we would have weekly meetings with our family. We called it council meetings. So, how was your week? How was your day? What's going on? Da, 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 da. Ask somebody in this circle a question. It's the funniest thing that happened because the littlest one that was 5 was like, I don't know what to say. How was your food? At dinner. But, we were
Mhm.
trying to plan. We were trying to plan that holistic.
I like that.
Doc
Mhm.
doc Dr. PM, I'm just curious, I wanna dig deeper into this for sure.
Mhm.
So you indicated that you're an ER doctor, but you're also indicating all of this stuff on LinkedIn. So is there a business connected to that? You've talked about you do more,
Mhm.
way more, it sounds like, than being an emergency room physician, which is huge all in itself. Like the stress, you talked about that,
Mhm.
everything. But
Yeah.
obviously, you're talking about LinkedIn. So, whoa, like, what else? Like, tell us what all do you do? I'm like, oh my gosh, every woman, there's like a bazillion things that we do, but I want to know specifically what all are you doing? What's the mission? What's the goal here? There's more
Mhm.
in you that you're pouring into people. It sounds like.
Mhm.
All right. So I call myself an accidental entrepreneur. When the pandemic occurred, I got so stressed out that I didn't want to be a doctor anymore. As a matter of fact, my mental health suffered. I didn't want to do anything anymore, severely depressed to the point where I was having suicidal ideations. So I
Mm,
used my network. My best friend is married to a psychiatrist and pointed me in the right direction of some therapists, got some help, and I got better. It helped me get insight on how difficult it is to get appropriate mental health services. And I thought, if
Mhm.
I'm so connected, I'm a doctor and I know people who know people, and it still was hard, how much harder is it for the average person? And then I wondered,
Mm.
are there other doctors like me? And yes, 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 there are. So one
Mhm.
doctor per day dies by suicide. I didn't know that
Wow.
until I was going through my own difficulties. And somewhere between
Huh.
40 to 60% of doctors are burned out. I don't know about you,
Mm.
but when I go and have an operation, I don't want my surgeon burned out. And
Mm.
hospitals don't usually invest in wellness programs. So I now speak at conferences. Since I done my good friend Brittany got me in at a TEDx talk,
Mhm.
I realized I'm a great speaker, and that's what I love.
Mhm.
Speak at conferences,
Mm.
and that translates to workshops. And so I teach resilience and burnout prevention and employee healthcare wellness at hospitals, clinics, at conferences. And from there, physicians wanted to have their own personal coaching. And so I would create cohorts. So this January, I do it to where it's not overwhelming for me. People will ask me to do it every day, but I cannot. So just once, maybe twice, if I feel it in my spirit, I'll do a cohort of female physicians. Well, I would work with them to figure out how they can decrease their stress. They'll be coached. If they want to develop a side hustle and decrease their clinical burden at work. And that's what I
Mhm.
did. So I work in the ER PRN now. So at first,
Mhm.
I went back to three-fourths time, and then I went to
Mhm.
halftime. And as the business started growing, I'm speaking more, then I had to go to PRN. And eventually, I probably will back away from clinical medicine to start teaching at a medical university because I'm getting older. I've been doing it for 20 years, and emergency medicine takes a hard toll on your body. The average
Mm.
ER doctor, by some statistics, dies by the age of 57. I'm 50.
Wow.
And so
Mm.
you think about it, it's chronic stress over and over, whether you're dealing with violent patients, your own personal safety, which is something I encountered recently, or you're
Mm.
dealing with just the regular stuff. A person is coming in, they're hurt, they're dying. You must save them. Can you do it? And you feel so responsible. Even if it's not all on you, it still feels that way.
Sure. The one thing that I wrote down as you were talking was going in and being a teacher at a medical university. It's obvious there is a problem here because of what you just said, the rate of suicide. So I love the idea of going into those medical universities and preparing those doctors before they even start whatever practice or ER. I have a sister that is a medical doctor. She's family doctor, I'll say. Um, and still, I think with all doctors, there's that stress to
Yeah.
support and help and cure. And yours is ER doctor is just another level higher than
Right.
that because of what you see. But I just want to say thank you so much for going in because we all see doctors. And I, like you said, I want my best medical doctor to be able to treat me and not be so exhausted and burnt out and thinking about suicide. I mean, my heart just dropped when you said that. So thank you so much for doing what you're
Exactly.
doing. It's huge need.
One of the most burnt out doctors are primary care, like your sister. So of the doctors, family physicians are very burnt out. OBGYNs and emergency medicines are probably at the top of the list.
Wow. We could go down a little rabbit hole there, but I won't
Right.
because I think part of that burnout is mandating things, insurance, and blah blah blah. That let's
Mhm.
not go down that because
Oh,
I don't
that's a
want to get
whole
into that
different
because that
podcast.
that might get me angry. I don't like to be angry on the podcast.
I don't know that I've seen you angry, so that might be a first.
So you experienced this. You said during the pandemic. Tell the audience how did that shift? You got some support and help, but go more into the detail. Like what was going on that you're like, hold on.
Mhm. Mhm.
And then
And
how did you work towards reaching out?
I encourage everyone to watch TEDx I did on this topic. And so what happened, I like to call it the anatomy of my emotional flatline, is I was working during the pandemic. So everybody got to stay home. but not the
Mm.
doctors, especially ER doctors. There are even some subsects of doctors who weren't coming in. And so think about it, cardiologists weren't coming in. So heart specialists, they were like, we don't know what this pandemic is doing. We're not coming in. We had people in the emergency room who were having heart attacks, but no heart doctors.
Mm.
So what I
Mhm.
did was I worked and I never got sick. And I prided myself on being resilient. I felt at first it was like the world needs us, let me go out to war. And then I felt like I wanted to work a lot because I didn't want to be at home as I was afraid to bring it home to my kids. I was afraid, what if I breathe on my kids and make them sick and make them die? How would I feel? And so I was
Yeah.
isolated, staying away from my family, never communicating and
Mm.
dealing with it and working.
Mhm.
And so working in the emergency room, and this time the information was changing daily. So I remember in particular, the one that sticks out in my mind is ibuprofen. At first, they said, don't give ibuprofen for fevers because it makes COVID worse. And then they're like, do give ibuprofen because it will help with COVID. And this is like the swing of the shift for the week. It was also distressing. And everything was changing as soon as you thought you knew what to do or try, because nothing was working in the beginning, remember? People were
Mhm.
just and it felt so hopeless because people were just dying when you tried your best. And also,
Mhm.
it was scary because you have people coming in crisis, coughing, and you'd see like, spewing pink foam from their mouths. And you suit up and put on your garb and your protective equipment, but you're still wondering, is this
Mhm.
gonna get me? Am I gonna die too?
Mhm.
And working was a lot, 80 hours a week. One week I worked 100 hours in 1 week.
Mm.
Sometimes 24-hour shifts, and sometimes I work a 24-hour shifts, drive home, and sleep for
Oof.
3 or 4 hours, and I get the phone ring, and such is sick. He's in the ICU. We need another ER doctor to come in. The waiting
Right.
room is full. The hallways are full. Every bed is taken. When can you make it back? And so you get back as soon as you can. So that
Mhm.
is the buildup of how eventually, after several months of droning on in this pandemic,
Mhm.
I was worn out, and at first I thought I was just tired, because of course, right? I thought I was just
Mhm.
fatigued, overworked, and it was just dreary because there was no people on the roads. You drive out, gray skies, driving across the Blanchette Bridge, and nobody's out there. It's weird. It feels like it's the end of days. Feels like a
Right.
movie.
Mhm.
And, I remember driving across the bridge just one day, like several months into the pandemic, thinking, "I wanna jump in." I wanted to
Mhm.
jump in. And I thought, "I'm just tired." I shook it off. And then I would sometimes visually see myself jumping in. And it became
Wow.
just a strong pull that I don't wanna be here anymore. And I was
Mhm.
thinking just horrible thoughts because if anybody knows how to commit suicide, it would be me.
Yeah.
All right, because and I was thinking I started to have a plan. That's when I knew it was bad because I was like, "I can do this and make it look accidental so that my parents and my
Wow.
kids can still get the insurance money." And so that's when I knew, yeah, I probably should get some help, but I still didn't do anything about it. If any of you have had that, sent you to the doctor right away, I would probably had you admit it. I would say we need a crisis plan, but for me, I didn't see it.
Mhm.
It wasn't until I came to work one day and everyone's
Mhm.
chattering. One of our colleagues died by suicide. He was an
Wow.
ER doctor, well respected, beautiful wife, beautiful kids, played in his
Mhm.
church band, handsome
Yeah.
guy, tall. You like, do you think that's the guy who's got it together? And then I knew if that guy would die by suicide, then I surely could too. So then I started to try and get help. I called the EAP. It was no help. They were unhelpful. I called probably about 30 therapists. Nobody took my insurance. I had Anthem.
Mm.
Wow.
And then
Insurance. Yeah, don't go
yeah,
down that rabbit hole.
just tell people, sorry, devil.
You're like, "Doctor, and I can't" like,
Yeah.
"What?"
I was in despair. I was like, "Oh, what can I do?" And I was like, "Oh, yeah, my best friend's husband is a psychiatrist." So she gave me a few names. I found a therapist. I go there and we think she's taking my insurance. She says, "Yeah, but no, she runs it through. I don't take it." And I said, "Forget it." Finally, I just pay cash. So I spent about
Mhm.
$10,000 out of pocket on therapy to get better.
Wow.
And I think that's where my advocacy was born, because that's not
Mhm.
fair. Because what if I wasn't a six-figure earner? What would I be?
Mhm.
I may not be here.
Wow, how did you keep those thoughts at bay during that time? Because you're already isolated or you're already overworked. I imagine every hour was like, "Hallelujah, God, I need you to get me through to the next one."
Right. It was that. It was my faith. And it's also how we are safety planning for patients. Very one of the most protective things is having children. And so
Mm,
I made my will, and I
mhm,
realized there was no good candidates to take care of my children should I not be here.
mm.
Mm.
I know that feeling. Oof.
So, how do you help people? You're talking about working with doctors, you've done a TEDx, you've done all these things. How do you help others recognize really those signs of that
Mhm.
emotional stress, collapse, what, however you describe that? How do you help people recognize that in themselves and recognize that in other people? Because suicide, obviously with medical doctors, is high, but we know it's high everywhere. Probably
So
higher, the highest as it's been ever.
Mm,
mhm. And so my target audience of people I work with is physicians. I have high affinity for them, and I never knew the statistics. And I think that's completely unacceptable, and I think it's not talked about nearly enough. Everybody I tell about it, usually like, I don't know that. I didn't know that. And I'm
right,
in medicine. I never heard those stats. So I think it's
mm,
something we need to let medical students know that this is a possibility, be preemptive, help them know how to recognize the initial signs of burnout and make healthcare, mental health care. Let's not separate the two. It's all healthcare. Let's
yes.
normalize getting help. And so the one thing I found that was so helpful for me was permission. My therapist
Mm,
gave me permission to feel what I feel. She's like, yeah, it's because
mm,
I felt shame. I felt shame. Like I'm supposed to heal. I shouldn't need healing. And she
mhm,
was like, "It's an impossible situation. Doctors go through a
yes.
lot. There's a lot to bear. There's a lot of things on your shoulders, and at least sometime during your career, you're going to have some depression, especially some anxiety, and
Mm,
to the extremes." And I was like, I never thought of it that way. And so when I speak at conferences, I always weave that in. It is okay to not be okay. And if you're a lady, sometimes you get called a lady doc, and all these microaggressions that occur. And so you have the stress of what being a doctor is. That's already stressful. Now you're dealing with the
mhm,
ism. Whether you're a
mm,
person of color, you're dealing with the racism. Whether you're a person
mm,
who's a female, you're dealing with
mm,
sexism. And God forbid you're LGBTQIA, now you got to deal with that ism. And
mm,
so all of those things contribute to burnout. And you need to know that it's okay to feel what you feel. Go and get the help you need. Because if you broke your arm, you wouldn't just let it dangle. You would go get it set,
mhm,
Yeah.
get it
mm.
cast, and get it better.
Yeah. I love that you're putting that all in, talking to that. Like it's not just mental health, it's all health,
Mm,
and keeping that all together. I love that.
And
Yeah.
so I thought that I'd just be talking to healthcare professionals. But what I found that
Mhm.
people will contact me, construction workers. And they said, oh, there's high suicide rates in construction. I never would have thought, but there are.
mm,
Trucking associations. There's high
mhm.
health and stress in that. And so on and so forth. And so then it goes across industries, and that's the kind of work I'm doing lately, and it's been quite enjoyable.
Mhm.
Nice, nice. I am LPC at a university, and it's really eye-opening and exciting to see these young people kinda take a hold of their mental health. These are those babies that went through COVID and was isolated and things like that, but I love that there's more eyes on mental health now and the norm, to seek support.
Yeah, we're having a moment right now, so we need to seize on it while we have the public's attention.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, I know when you sent us some information, there was something in there about strong medicine. Is that the name of your company? What is strong medicine? What is that?
That's a consulting company that I use to do these
Okay.
services through.
Okay. Okay. So that sounds amazing.
Mm,
And you said a couple of those different things that you do. You speak, you do workshops, all of that. So that's amazing. And a cohort. So when will you decide if you're going to do these cohorts coming up in January? Or are you for sure? If there's a medical doctor listening or anyone else, tell us more about that, how to get a hold of you, what you have coming to support them if they are in that position where they need some help.
All right. So they should text the word strong to 55444. And that way you're added to my newsletter and you can download my stress less blueprint. Just a
mm,
quick win because I think we need to learn how to recognize stress and use some tools. And
mm,
I am right now I'm compiling a wait list. And so I go and I do life by my energy. And so if there's enough genuine interest in it, then I'll create it. It's already created, but I'll do it. And
Mhm.
so we get about 20 doctors, then I'll do it starting at the beginning of January, probably the second week,
Mhm.
because I take my
Nice.
holiday break seriously.
Good for
Love your
you.
self-care, take care of yourself.
I do.
Man, that is beautiful. God, I feel so privileged to be in the company of such greatness. And then you hear her say, Teresa, 20 years. Now, would you believe that? I would not believe that.
No, no.
She
That's
was 35, right? She's like, "Oh, I've been doing it for 20
well,
years."
years,
She
guys.
talked about she talked about stress aging you and the telomeres and all of the things. She's doing the right things now
Yeah.
that she has found to make sure she keeps away from those autoimmune and those aging factors for sure. And I'm
Yeah.
glad that you're teaching that to others because that's huge.
Yes, it is.
If someone would like you to speak at their organization, or said you do speak, I would definitely too want to make sure we link that TEDx that you spoke about. We link that in the show notes so that they can look for that, or you can even share that here. Like, what's the best way to get hold of you? What is the name of the TEDx? Is it TEDx St. Louis? Is it another TEDx? Because I know there's multiple. So
Mhm.
share with us because I do want to watch that.
Okay. So the website has my TEDx on it. It's called drbstrong.com. DRBSTRONG.com. And that's where you can find my speaker reel, my TEDx, and contact me there. That's the best way to get in contact.
Okay, so
Also,
you
the
go
newsletter is
to
Word Strong. Yeah, so
yes,
www.drbstrong.com.
I love that. I can think of multiple people that need to have you come in
Mhm, mhm.
to speak for
Me too.
them. So
Yeah. So you guys have my personal information, just email me.
yeah,
Will
okay,
do, will
sounds good.
do.
Sounds good. So because we talk a lot about grief, I want to kind of tie this all together a little bit. So obviously, I am just envisioning the grief that you went through during the pandemic, um, and that attributed probably to a lot of what you experienced with burnout and whatever. Can you speak a little bit to how that was, that grief? I mean, I can't even, it is hard for me to think about people actually in the medical field in the hospital so much loss at one time.
Yeah.
How I don't even know what question to ask to that. I, I'm like, how did you manage that? How did you manage all of that loss at that time?
Difficult part of the whole thing. So
Mhm,
you lose a patient and let me put into perspective. When a doctor loses a patient, we grieve them. Whether we
mm,
need them, we don't know, but we grieve them. And we feel like, a little piece goes with you. And
mm,
fortunately, that
mm,
doesn't happen to you often. It happens even when you're in the emergency room. Maybe it happens once every few months, maybe a couple times, few times a year. Imagine everything as many times it happens in a year, it happens in one day. And every
Mhm.
shift, somebody's going to die. And I'll put it like this. And sometimes it seemed like it was merciful because it'd be somebody that you knew who was suffering. I had many patients who were nursing home patients with chronic diseases who came into the ER often and I knew they were suffering. So it seemed like mercy. And then there were some that you're like, how did they die? One patient in particular, and you will put it through your brain 60 different ways because he was only 33 and he had asthma, but it wasn't that bad. And,
Mm,
you knew him well because his insurance was such that he came to the ER often because he couldn't get in with doctors. His insurance and deductibles weren't that great. So
mm,
it's like I was his
really?
primary care. But he came in one day in distress, respiratory distress, and we're thinking this is simple. This is asthma stuff. Let's do what we normally do. And on top of that, he had COVID. And I leave for the shift. He's fine. And I come back the next
Mhm,
day and they tell me he came back and he died. And you're
mm,
going, wait, did I do something? Did I do everything? And you know him by
mm,
name. You know his wife's face. You've seen his little children. And that one was a rough one. Another rough one was a patient who she grabbed my arm very tightly as she was dying. It's like I felt the life force going from her. I saw her in my
mm,
dreams for about 6 months. And
Wow.
how do you deal with it? I didn't know how to deal with it. It was unprecedented.
Yeah.
And so so when I finally I just powered through it like we do. We work, overwork, trying to work it away, trying
Mhm.
to print it away. I got a
Mm,
Peloton, tried to spin it away, and then,
mm,
I just accepted it is what it is. I need some help, and
yeah,
saw a therapist first, and I needed medication. I am still on that medication. I still processing this stuff. It's 5 years later.
Yeah. Yeah.
yes.
And I still have to do the therapy work regularly, and things trigger me, like, right now it's cold and flu season, that triggers me, reminds me of the pandemic, and so I
Yeah.
actually don't work very many clinical shifts during cold and flu season.
Mhm. Good
Wow.
for you, good boundaries, gosh.
Wayne and I both work with people, obviously, as a grief coach, and Lena as a healthcare professional. Work with people with grief, and so I appreciate you saying that because that's what happens many times. First, we just try to power through it. We push it down. We get rid of it as best we can to get to where we need to be in our day, into the next week, into the whatever. And there comes a time where what I'm going to say is reach out to someone for support as you did. You did it for a while and you could do it because you needed to. We needed you. We needed you in the yard doing what you needed to do. But you do come to a point, and then what I will say is make sure you're reaching out to someone to support you because it is so difficult to go through all of that heaviness on our own, for sure, which
Yeah.
you've experienced.
Sure.
And I also kinda think about, your family, Dr. Pam, with you carrying such a load daily, how, and them having the ultimate sacrifice of not having their mom, or their partner with them. I don't know that we give enough space to that alone, that loss, time, familiar, just I think we play it down a lot for what doctors endured and with their families as well.
I
Mhm.
used to, now I recognize, but I only think you get to that place with a trained professional working you through
Mm,
it. So now I prioritize my own self-care. And it's just like, it's not the buzzword that people make it out to be. I did some introspective work. I really,
mhm,
you know, did some digging to figure out, so what is my purpose in life? And people think purpose is woo-woo, but it's a
mhm.
scientific process. There's the purpose factor. There's an assessment you can take. Colleagues of mine did 10 years of research on that. And so
Mhm,
my purpose is one of the things like the categories is I am a recruiter, meaning that I like to bring people to a cause and gather them and rally around it and do something about it. And so I was like, okay, so in life right now is really to rally around the mental health of other medical professionals because we can't all quit. We definitely
mhm,
need to stop the bleeding of how many of us are dying by suicide. And then we need to not normalize the fact that most doctors are feeling mental health issues and are burning out and suffering in silence. And then we think that just get some help. You're right there around it. Well, many doctors don't want to get help because we fear losing our license. You
mhm,
think that if you check a box on the licensing forms, it says, do you have a mental health issue? Now you have to talk to the board and they get to decide if you should remain a doctor. Most of
mm,
us, no matter what field you're in, will have an episode of depression. That is just a human experience. But to feel like your livelihood, and think about it, your livelihood is two, four, six, maybe $1 million a year if you're a cardiothoracic surgeon. And
mhm,
you're afraid to say yes to that box, so you're afraid to go get help. I know that when I did go get help, I paid in cash and I did it as a pseudonym. Didn't even give my real name at first, because I
mm,
didn't want to lose this six-figure income. And
wow,
so I work now as an ambassador with the Lorna Breen Foundation where we work to prevent a physician suicide and we work to get the legislation changed. So half the states now have taken that off the licensure forms. And so
nice.
you need to get the rest of the states to take it off because doctors are just humans who will have
Mhm,
some health crisis and we don't need to be policed about having depression.
Well, thanks for being an advocate and pushing towards all that. That was
wow,
that was eye opening for me. Well, all that you just said, I'm like, wow, never thought about that. But yeah, that makes total sense why they don't want to get help
mhm,
because of their licensure and everything. That makes sense. I think that's in other areas too, but that's huge in the medical and the doctors. Wow. Didn't even know. So something new I learned today. I always love to learn new things. I've learned a lot today.
Yeah,
There's
I'm like,
no doubt about that. Wow.
like, yeah, yeah. I gotta research some stuff. I got some websites open and everything.
Yeah, me too. Me too. And just even that assessment or whatever you said about the
Mhm.
purpose, I'm like, ooh,
Yeah.
I want to
Mhm.
dive into that. What did you call that? Is that on your website or is that just a general
My colleagues
form
is called
survey?
it's thepurposefactor.com. Some friends of mine did
Mhm.
Purpose
research on
factor.
how do you find your purpose? And it's actually a
Mhm.
scientific process. And so they have an assessment
I
that you
love
can
it.
take. And I love that too, because people just think purpose is woo-woo, but it's the best of what you have to serve others.
Mhm. Yeah.
And when you know what your purpose is, it makes everything easier. That was another piece to me getting healthy mentally and really learning how to do self-care because my purpose is this one box. And things that fit outside of this box, I don't have to say yes to. No is a
Mhm.
complete sentence. And so
Yeah.
think
It is.
about it.
It is
As a
twice.
physician, people try to drag you in different places in different ways. Can you come do this? Can you speak here? Can you volunteer this? And I used to be one who like think that's my duty to do that because the
Mhm.
community deserves. But I am just a person, okay? And I don't
Yeah.
need burnout. So I realized that my purpose is in terms of work, I'm a recruiter, so I do advocacy work. But my purpose is to be a great
Mhm.
mom, be a great partner, to connect with my
Mhm.
brothers and sisters. That's first. And everything
Mhm.
else take a back seat. So I probably don't get to it. I don't volunteer much at the school. I don't have the
Mhm.
time. I volunteer at my church at a limited amount. And I know that once
Mhm.
my children, then I can do more of that. But for right now, my purpose and soul structure is to be around them.
Yeah.
I love that. Oh my gosh, that
So
doing that and understanding that, and if people abide by it,
Mhm.
setting boundaries around that, like this does not serve my purpose. So, like you said, it's no. And
Mm.
I've said many, many times on the podcast, me saying no is giving someone else an opportunity to say yes because there are other people that is their purpose. And sometimes I feel like if I'm always saying yes, I'm not leaving that opportunity for other people. So I love that doing that survey and really figuring out what is your purpose and living with purpose makes us so much happier and very just joyful to know we
And
are living our purpose and we're not spreading ourselves too thin on all these other things.
But you see it in the way that she talks. So, and for me, that's anybody that when their face lights up, their whole body lights up, they're super excited. They said, your purpose is what you would do for free. So it just comes to you. And you can see that when she talks about helping people find that balance in life and a more holistic kind of living.
We could probably ask a lot more questions, but I've asked a lot. Louina, you have any other questions of Dr. PM before we close tonight?
No, because it would be another 2, 3 period. 'Cause it's like, okay, Dr. Pam, because she's smart. She hasn't even told you how smart I know how smart this lady is. She is genius level smart. So we haven't even got to that side. We haven't got to the motherhood journey. Like, I could go a whole lot of different ways, so.
Well, we may have to have you on another time to go that way. But
Mhm.
for now, I think we're going to conclude this episode. We will put all of those links, especially, I'm going to say that TEDx, because that's going to tell me a whole lot more and so many other people to really help them navigate those things, finding your purpose, finding some mental health if that's an issue. I don't know what all is in your TEDx. I guess it's your story, but lots of other information for people. So I'm excited to myself watch and learn from that. So yeah, I want to just thank you so much for sharing your heart, being so honest and open and vulnerable with us to really help us through and understand more about burnout personally for ourselves, but
Mhm.
also those doctors in the medical field. And I love that you're supporting them in such an amazing way.
thank you.
Anything else that you'd like to share that we didn't
Go.
ask a question about?
Again, the best way to contact me, text, text strong to 55444.
All right, there you go. Easy way. Simple, easy way to do that. So, till next time, here on Female Voices, Life and Loss, be gentle on yourself.
Yeah.
And remember, healing isn't a destination, it's a way of living.
Mm, that's the
Share
truth.
this with others that could really benefit from this episode.